What is up, Teach Better family? I am Jeff. That is Mr. Joshua, _ Stamper. This is your Administrator Mastermind Recap for what is it, Tuesday, August 29th, 2023. Josh, what's going on, brother?
Hey, it's great to see you. I
It's
feel
good to
like
see
we've
you.
connected in a while.
I feel like we haven't done like a video and stuff like that. I mean, we connect every week, but that's different because we're like head down doing work stuff. But like
Right.
I've done some of the morning shows with Ray
Yep.
and with Katie.
And with
None,
Katie,
but nothing with you. I don't think we have not done that. You've done with Katie or with Ray at least, maybe with Katie
both.
too, with
No, I've
both.
done it with Ray
And typically you do this recap with Katie.
and Brad.
And Ray. What is going on here? Why did I get anyway? So I'm here. Just got done with a great administrative mastermind, which we do every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And you can go over to teachbetter.com/mastermind to get that for free. You just got to sign up. That way you get the link every week to join us. But another great conversation. I love this. The mastermind's a lot of fun because it's just one, it's a space for administrators just always be able to come to if they have an issue, if they just need that support, they just need to feel that community. But we also have themes and things that we talk about. We're always posing questions. A lot of good conversations today around a lot of questions. And we had a nice group. Last week was a little thinner, right? School was really kicking in for everyone. Back to more normal sized group today. So we come on and do these recaps to try and just sort of, if you missed it and you weren't there, here's a little bit of what came away from this meeting and stuff. So I'm feeling very Christmassy with your mug there, just so you're aware. It's
I love
very
Christmas.
Christmassy.
I know.
It's like that mug is like the coffee mug. It's the Christmas pajamas of coffee mugs. That's what. Anyway, if those of you who are listening on the podcast and not watching this, his mug is green and red like plaid. Like it's totally just picture pajamas that were like Christmas pajamas that were turned into a coffee mug. Anyway, all right, Josh, you started with the first question that you posed was, what's the most unusual classroom observation experience you've had, and how did it influence your perspective on teaching and learning? There was a few good stories here. Which one do you want to actually share and pull away from?
I don't know. There was the breakdancing in the middle of the class, which I thought was very entertaining
Yep.
because, we're talking about student engagement for the month of September. So the students were very engaged, just not on the
Not
appropriate
with.
thing.
Yep.
And then we also had the science experiment go wrong where the kid was thirsty, decided to grab the beaker of chemicals and drink
Well,
it.
it was of alcohol, right? Of
Yeah.
alcohol, and just pound it. Had to go. So let's focus on that one because there was a we'll call it positive, a takeaway from that where the teacher flipped it into a conversation around safety, being aware of where you're at. And when you're in a science lab, you need to assume that you don't know what anything is. So things need to be labeled. You need to have conversations. You need to ask. You shouldn't just pick up a liquid and drink it. So I think there was that particular thing.
Well, I think the takeaway too was that there is a trial and error to teaching and education. And,
Absolutely.
a lot of times we don't think of something because kids will know how to run an experiment. This is not their first time. And then
Mm-hmm.
something crazy happens that you never would imagine. And then you have to kind of pivot and, make adjustments. And that's really what happens in the classroom. And so I feel like the overarching conversation today was just the idea of accepting failure to a degree. Like things are going to happen in the classroom. You're going to need to try things out. There's a trial and error, but then you also need to adjust and make changes based on what you just experienced. So I think that story specifically kind of opened up the door for what we're about to talk about next.
Yeah, which I think this is, I don't know if this is where we're going on, but one of the things that we talked a lot about was the observation process
Yep.
and not just the process, but also the environment and culture that we create around those processes, and while making sure that we're hitting the things that are required while also making it beneficial and stuff. So do you want me to go right through the questions here, or do you have
Yeah.
anything that like pop up? So the first question was, how do you foster that culture of continuous improvement, innovation to really drive the momentum in your school? And we really got into it, diving, but I also want to get into some of the changing and stuff too. But what was your big takeaways from that? Like, how do we foster this culture of innovation and improvement, and just constantly having this momentum forward of being better every day?
Yeah, I thought the conversation really was about giving clear and concise feedback, but then
Mm-hmm.
also making sure that you're providing support. And so, yeah, of course, getting into classrooms, the formal assessments, the evaluation process was really
Yep.
discussed heavily here. And I feel like this question was probably the majority of,
Yeah,
the
definitely.
discussion. So I think them understanding that we need to get in classrooms, we need to be creative in that process, but then also finding ways to give informal feedback, not just something where we're coming in with a device, we're sitting down, we're making it maybe a more of a high stakes environment for the teacher. And then there's a time and place for that because there's state standards and things that we have to do as administrators, but we need to make sure that we're being present and giving as much feedback, like real actual items as possible, instead of just making it like a checklist item of coming in and
Yeah, it was
has to be
making
perfect.
it completing what you need to complete as an administrator to and check those boxes, but making the actual experiments and or the experience and the culture around that about the growth
Correct.
opportunities and the being better for students versus the we have to do this. It's a well, we have to do this, so let's utilize it to the best of our abilities to actually be positive. And like one of them was, some I can't remember. We're not talking about who talked about, but we talked about allowing teachers to make those mistakes without
Mhm.
punishment, but rather
Correct.
utilizing that as an opportunity to learn and grow together, have conversations together, um, and and really like sort of maybe an opportunity to try something new, to take on
Mhm.
something that's what I mean, versus this becoming this, like you said, high stakes, stressful, concerned experience. It becomes an opportunity for growth instead.
Yeah, so a lot of administrators shared about new initiatives that they got going on,
Hmm.
either with teaching strategies like project-based learning, or maybe it's assessment with standards-based grading, or even just new curriculum and resources. So there's a lot of things that are going on that are brand new to teachers, and so to come in and to expect it to just be flawless from day one, I mean that's not
Not
reality.
realistic. Yeah.
No. So as an administrator, we need to make sure that we're supporting it as best as possible. I also want to mention that one district has kind of this philosophy of keep it, dump it, tweak it in their meetings, and I love that because they understand that things are going to go awry in the school, in the classroom. So let's not hide from it, right? Let's bring it to the
Yeah.
table, and then let's change course a little bit because we can always make adjustments. We can always be better. So let's have that conversation. Let's designate a certain amount of time to come in. And then, because let's be honest, Jeff, unfortunately, sometimes pride it gets in the way and we would just want to push
Hmm.
through an initiative, even if it's going terribly wrong. And we just can't do that. So, to have something like this where it's a keep it, dump it, tweak it, brings it to the forefront of like what is going well, what's not. And if it's not going well, how can we make it better?
Yeah. And speaking of like tweaking and changing, one of the things we talked about, one of the questions that we posed was how are you changing the evaluation process and observations to provide the best feedback to your
Mhm.
teachers? So some of the takeaways from that.
Yeah, so I think it was obvious that the evaluation process definitely has its flaws, and when we're talking about like, just the grades that have to go with it, as
Hmm.
far as excellent and whatnot, and how hard it is for a teacher to get that excellent rating on an evaluation. So, what are some other ways that we can coach and provide feedback to the teacher, not just utilizing the assessment process? Because if we only rely on that, there's obviously going to be a lot of things missed within the classroom because it's not a true reflection of what's going on every single day in the classroom. So some of the things that were brought up were, coaching opportunities where we're actually, scheduling time with the teacher one-on-one to have, again, it could be formal, but mostly
Hmm.
informal conversations about what's going on in the classroom. And then another option was peer feedback. And
Yeah, the peer
not
one, we talked
everyone's,
a lot about.
yeah, I thought this was brilliant. I think it's great for culture. I've been on a campus where this actually occurred, where teachers would volunteer to go into other classrooms and to see other things going on. I thought for myself, I was a teacher at the time, it was extremely beneficial for me because I was taking things, oh, I love this. I don't think I could pull this one off, or, I would
Yeah.
never do that. It'd fail miserably. So, like for me personally, it was a beautiful thing to help me as a teacher, but then also it helped the other teacher by giving them
Yeah,
that
there's
feedback.
there's there's a growth period opportunity for both more so, I think. I think
Correct.
there's also always a growth opportunity for as a admin, if you're going in a room, you should see that as a growth opportunity for yourself as well. But I think more direct and easy to see and clear is that the growth opportunity, to your point, is if we're peers and I'm observing, not only am I providing hopefully feedback to you, I'm also I'm going to take notes. I'm grabbing things too, and hopefully we're having a conversation around it.
Yep.
I think someone referenced that was a little more low stakes of an experience, and I think I agree with that, but also part of me goes, well, if that feels lower stakes than yours as an admin, then you need to change the culture of yours. But
Yeah.
naturally, my colleague down the hall coming in to observe me, I'm going to naturally not think that is as I'm not going to stress the same way I do when it's something that could potentially impact my job, my salary, stuff like that. So like
Mhm.
there is a lot of opportunity there for that growth to happen, and that be the focus and the purpose of and the culture of observations being around growth
Yep.
versus being around a score that can be a negative thing. And I think a lot of power in there. And I think the group seemed to all agree like that was very powerful when it comes to the peer feedback. So
Yeah, I think even if an administrator tries their best to make it feel like it's very informal, we're coming in just to support, the teacher always feels different when an administrator comes in. It's just
yeah,
a natural thing. So,
yep,
a peer feedback, like you said, it provides low stakes. Hopefully, maybe the feedback is taken a little bit differently because it's not a part of an evaluation process. So, I thought that was a beautiful thing. If I think it's a culture piece too. I think it helps the culture of your school
agreed.
because it is about everyone helping others and to be their best version of themselves. So
Yeah.
if you can pull that off within your campus, every campus is different, but I think that's a beautiful strategy.
Well, and it's about the culture because it's not only lower stakes, only a growth opportunity for both, but it's an opportunity for colleagues to maybe actually communicate with each other and not
Yep.
just be Jeff from down the hall, but now we're actually supporting each other. We're learning a little bit about each other. We're hopefully then feeling more connected and closer. And now we're becoming a resource for each other outside of this I don't want to say mandated, but this like organized time, right?
Yeah.
Versus just becoming now a resource that like, hey, like when Josh came in and observed me, like we had a good conversation. He had some great ideas. So now when I'm struggling, Josh is now another place I can go for help, for support, for venting, for whatever. And I think, yeah, to your point, like the culture around that is there's a lot of strength there. So
Yeah. Love it.
okay. Awesome. So join us every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. It's free. Go to teachbetter.com/mastermind. And if you're watching on YouTube, drop comments. Let us know what are you thinking about the culture and the processes that you have around observations. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can always tweet at us or whatever the heck they call it over there now, or hit us on Instagram. Everything's at Teach Better Team. We'd love to hear from you. And if you go to teachbetter.com/mastermind, join us on Tuesdays. I think that's all I got, Josh. Is that all we have?
Yeah. I can't
All right,
wait for
brother.
September, man, because we got student engagement as the topic.
Yes. Nice job remembering that. Good job, buddy. All right. We will see you next week, y'all.